as I warned the president, you can't ask the elected representatives of the people to trust you to enforce the law if you're constantly demonstrating that you can't be trusted to enforce the law. The president never listened. And with this action, he's refused to listen to the American people. The president has taken actions that he himself has said are those of a king or an emperor, not an American president.
All right, that was in response, of course, to the executive order signed, about a month or two ago. But it's gotten worse because Jessica M. Vaughan, immigration expert, director of policy studies at the Center for Immigration Studies, has come up with a whole new revelation, and it's frightening. And Jessica, welcome. Congratulations on breaking this story. And you talked about over 5.5 million workers being granted status, or at least work permits, since 2009. And guess what that coincides with? The inauguration of President Barack Obama.
Yes, I don't think it's a coincidence. The numbers started off a little bit less than they have been in the last 3 years, when it's been an average about 1 million a year. But the total is staggering. 5.5 million issued above and beyond normal green cards and work permits that are, work visas that are issued every year through our regular immigration programs. And not only the number, but the people to whom they were issued was very surprising to me. A very large number of people who entered the country illegally or came on temporary tourist visas who are ending up with a work permit is pretty shocking indeed. And it's not as if we have a labor shortage. This is about, there are a lot of Americans who presumably would like to have the jobs that these folks are able to get instead through this abuse of executive action.
Well, okay, now, so this shadow system you're talking about, and you just referred to executive action, that's not the recent executive action. Was this an executive order? Was this an order on how to enforce existing law? Was this a constitutional? Was this lawful? How was this done?
It's simply done by the immigration bureaucracy according to the rules that are set out by the executive branch. And the executive branch has always issued work permits in certain situations to people, for example, who are just in a temporary adjustment of their status. For example, someone gets married to a U.S. citizen and their green card hasn't come through yet. Now, I think that's highly debatable whether that person should be allowed to work before they've actually been approved for a green card. But sometimes that's done, or in unique situations like a refugee who's just arrived, or a situation like that. But this is not people being allowed to have exceptions, for humanitarian reasons or practical reasons or whatever. This is
a policy, a whole new policy, yeah.
Exactly, an end run around the limits set by Congress, especially when they're going to so many people here illegally.
And it's just become, that set the pattern, or that should have been looked at if we knew about it at the time as setting a pattern. Now looking back, you could see it on so many issues. But here all along, he's saying, I can't do this on immigration. I'd be a king, I'd be a monarch, as you heard John Boehner allude to. That was about the new executive order. But all along, he knew exactly what he was doing, to the tune of 5.5 million previously. So what could Congress do to change this now that they're in the majority?
They need to take back control over immigration policy, which the Constitution gives them, and they should start by withholding money through the appropriations bill that it is now before the U.S. Senate. The House did what it should do. It passed a bill that said, we're not giving you any money for the Department of Homeland Security to fund your executive actions. And they're saying, we want to have the Department of Homeland Security up and running, but we don't want that money used for the executive actions. The House voted it out. The Senate Democrats are now saying we're not voting for it unless we give money that will allow these executive actions to go forward. So, Congress the Republicans need to stick together and convince enough Democrats that, regardless of what you think about how many people should be allowed to work here from other countries, it should be done by Congress, not
Absolutely.
around the will of Congress. And so far, the
absolutely.
Democrats aren't buying that. But that's a whole other story.
Well, and I wouldn't hold my breath, but the Republicans could stick to their guns and get into a fight over funding Homeland Security and let the public decide, but I don't think they have the stomach for anything. We're putting your website up there. Give us your website. People want to find out more.
It's www.cis.org.
Yep, there it is, cis.org. Jessica, great talking to you. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next, folks, columnist and senior online editor at Commentary Magazine, our friend Jonathan Tobin will be here. Don't you touch that dial.